Good morning, everyone. Wishing you all a happy Sunday. Hope you had a lovely weekend so far. So I'm here to do the round 17 review of the St Kilda versus Hawthorn game that occurred at Marvel Stadium last night, the 5th of July. Have to admit, it was a pretty scrappy game overall from both sides. There's no doubt about that. The scoreline might not show that, but the statistics will show otherwise. To start with, it was a very good, well-attended game. 35,566 came to the game last night. Very good capacity, no doubt about it. Of course, there was a bit of playing for because of the Blue Ribbon Cup. I know St Kilda Hawthorn dating back to I can't remember how long, but there's always this Blue Ribbon Cup that they play for because I think due to a police constable who passed away, that was a common servant for both clubs. That's my brief understanding of it. But this Blue Ribbon Cup is to signify the death of a police constable. That's as far as my knowledge goes. Okay? Now, heading into last night's game, we knew about the riding the game will also have. It was all about the Josh battle versus St Kilda, a gentleman who promised his teammates, according to news, he would stay with the club with the offer we gave him. It was more money, mind you, than what Hawthorn gave, but backflipped to his teammates the night before saying he's leaving. So that was what it was. This is what has been reported. Okay, so he left. It was all about him coming up against his former side. But as I said in my preview on Thursday, it was all about former. It was he's just like any other player in the club list. Okay, he was just like any other player in the club list. Now, it was very, very scrappy game. The game started pretty okay. I mean, St Kilda really turned it up to the Hawthorn first quarter. Hawthorn took a good quarter time lead. I think what the key take-home message was, St Kilda's, they won the clearance. The midfield battle was great. I know Lloyd Meek had a good hit-out battle, but St Kilda won the clearance and the stoppages. What really decided the game was the entries into the forward 50, okay, hitting targets. The effort to get it into the forward is great, and I can't fault that of the Saints. So that's been a really good talking story of the last few weeks and throughout most of the season, but entry to the forward 50 needs a polish. Every time you see, a Win Hagar or a Garcia kicking the ball and it's on track to go into a St Kilda forward, a Hawthorn defender ends up marking it and that ruins it. They go to the other end and it's pretty much in their forward 50, no space of time. So that was the main thing. Hawthorn will also miss some opportunities as well. I wouldn't say they outworked the Saints. This game was not outplayed by either team in any means. I know Hawthorn came away with the chocolates and good on them, but this game, to say Hawthorn outworks St Kilda, it's an absolute, inaccurate depiction of the game. It doesn't summarise the game right. Okay, if they outwork St Kilda, okay, the game should have been over by quarter time. But every time Hawthorn tried to keep St Kilda at arm's length, St Kilda kept coming at them. They had nothing to lose. They kept throwing. And again, was led by their youngsters. They're a terrific set of youngsters. Okay, you look at a Max Hall, continued to be the best. He was the best on ground against Freo out of the Saints players with 1 goal. Yesterday he backed it up, 3 goals. He really has justified his position in the side beautifully. And Alexander Tyrou, my God, all those Tyrou hats or the Viking hats that were worn at the stadium by the Saints fans, it just shows he's one of the reasons they come to the footy. Such an exciting prospect for the Saints. Took an absolute beauty to line up a goal. Would have been nice if he kicked that goal, but that's okay. In future, I can assure you that those set shots he had yesterday are going to be goals. And he ended up taking a bit more marks than Spoles yesterday. He's a great player. And Angus Hastie, great inclusion back. I thought he never laid down. I know a few errors here and there, but he'll get better with that as time goes on. Angus Hastie, I thought, was really terrific. And even when Hawthorn were leading in that last quarter, one thing that summed up Angus Hastie's character, the gentleman who wears number 24 on his jumper, is Marbia Chol, a Hawthorn forward, was close to marking the ball. Okay, Angus Hastie out of nowhere comes and spoils it with some desperation. He looked a bit crook, but he didn't mind that because it was about the team first motto. So I thought that was really great. Hugo Garcia did his part okay. Higo kicked 2, could have kicked 3. So there were some very positive signs. Okay, I know it's another honourable loss we're talking, but the forward entry was a real letdown, to be honest. And every time we looked threatening, Hawthorn had an answer. Those junk time goals towards the end of each quarter has to be worked on badly. I cannot stress this enough. Okay. Every time St Kilda within 14 points, they end up getting a goal late through a Jack Gunston, through a Dylan Moore, just to break the heart a little bit. But I was happy the boys didn't throw the towel in. They gave it their all, okay? A couple of things just need to be polished, but their heart was excellent. And like I said, I'm happy the youngsters are playing for the jumper. They are playing with heart. If you think otherwise, you probably might want to see the game again. Their heart was there, okay? It's just that the polish needs to be worked on, and they'll get that with more experience. Remember one thing, we're coming up against a team who are looking to play in September, okay? It's not a team right at the bottom. And Hawthorn, as I said in my preview, they're also a pretty young team too. If you look at their average age, except Luke Bruce and Jack Gunston, everybody's under the age of 30. They're pretty youthful too. It's just that probably they started the development a year or two before St Kilda, at the time. So if you look at trajectory, they're probably a year or two. But they've got a lot of youth players who are still not that experienced either. It's just that, their game plan, their transition was a bit better. They're a bit more efficient. But they had to work for it. They came off an 85-point thrashing to North Melbourne last week, and they knew they were not going to get it all their way this game. And I was confident of that. I was confident we'll give them a good game, regardless of the result. The effort was good, and I liked the way that they took it up to them. Some of the senior players were a little bit off track with the way they played. Like Mason Wood probably was a bit fumbly. Missed goals that you expect him to get 9 times out of 10. Brad Hill still were a little bit fumbly, but I thought they cracked in as much as they could. Who else was there? Webster did his part okay, I thought. I know he was in a late inclusion because Stocker was a laid out. Butler, sort of not to be cited. But yeah, Wilkie does what Wilkie does best every week. Gives it his all, and poor guy. If we didn't, like Naz, if we didn't have a player like him, I just don't know what that backline would be like. Such a valuable asset. And onto the person I just mentioned, Nasai Wanganeen Malera. Take a bow, champ. Take an absolute bow. 1,003 metres gained. 43 possessions. Whew. Are you learning off from Bailey Dale, mate, from the Bulldogs? Remember Bailey Dale had close to 45 or 50 possessions against Essendon. Wow. Take a bow, pal. Your stats show what you mean to the Saints and to the supporters. Okay? Not even one Hawthorn player could catch you yesterday. Go back and listen to Sam Mitchell's press conference, and you'll get to hear how stressed and headache you have been to Hawthorn. The one statement Sam Mitchell made in his press conference was, "You were a hard player to catch. Even when you were sitting on the bench for a breather, you got Hawthorn worried still. The way you run and carry and run and gun, no one can match you, mate. You've been such a jet in that area. And my goodness, I just cannot imagine what the team would be like with that. You're such an asset. You've only played 4 years of football. You're not 10 years or 8. But you've been like you've been in the game for 10 years, mate. You've been so good. I just cannot fault the way you've gone about it yesterday. You just continue to keep St Kilda in the games. Okay? But, like Naz, if everybody can follow and work on their polish a little bit more and their skills and execution, these games will turn into wins. I can assure you that. We're not like Carlton getting spanked. We got spanked to the Bulldogs, but since Bulldogs, St Kilda have learned to remain at least competitive. Like I said, our future, our top end talent is something to be excited about. You look at other teams, we are up there with some top end talent. It's just that experience they need. And one other thing that gets spoken about is they talk about we lack a bit of height sometimes. Yeah, but if you think about it, we do have height. It just doesn't get used on the park often. Okay, let me go through this one by one. Alex Dodson, we have an Irish ruckman called Alex Dodson, 200 centimetres, untried. It's a matter of time till he breaks on the side. Max Heath, okay? Max King, the King forward, 200 centimetres tall. He's out for the year. I hope you all are aware of this. He's out for the year, 200 centimetres, okay? He's out. Who else do we have that's out? And Liam O'Connell, a 6'4" defender, 6'4" tall defender, okay? Then who else is missing from the team? James Barrett, okay? Then if we get TDK next year, Lee Khalid, there's another lot of players who are at least 200 centimetres tall, okay? Add them and get King back, get Filippo and others back. We'll be talking about a very strong height at St Kilda. It's going to be a different team with more height. It's just that it's not recognised now because we've not put them on the park. And the club has got their reasons why, through reasons like injury, form, and etc. Alex Dodson is an untried ruckman, a young ruckman, around 200 centimetres, similar height to Marshall. So the height is there, everyone, FYI, but it's just not being recognised because they're not being brought to the park just yet. And once they get brought to the park, you'll probably have a different impression that we have height. We do have it. Okay? Height is important. It's an important metric in the game. Okay? You can't, because you're going to come up against big bodies. Like Alex Tyru, he's what, 6'4", 6'5"? The way he leaps is amazing for just a third gamer. He leaps. How many good defenders in the comp leap to that extent, coming from nowhere and spoiling effectively? Just imagine if he puts on a bit more size, a bit more muscle in the off-season, he does the same thing. If I was a forward player, I would start shivering if he becomes one of your opponents, because it's not going to be easy. Such a talented guy, very level-headed player, as Ross Lyon says, and he looks it. Doesn't get carried away, looks to get better, so hungry to get better. This gentleman should be playing at least 10 games by now. Unfortunately, injury ruined him. He had a bit of a back spasm or something, kept him out. That he underwent a 6-week suspension in the VFL. Okay? Through a tackle where the player played out the game. So God knows, and look, I'm not going to get into the questioning of the suspension rules, but he would have played more games by now. But that's okay. He's 3 games in, and he is one of the reasons that St Kilda fans should be very excited about. Has Kane Corn said, this is the youth I've been crying to see in St Kilda, talent. And Tyru is an example of that. Such a very good player. You could see the heart, what the jumper means when he plays, the attitude. And as the jumper means a lot to the youngsters. Their heart was good. Max Hall cracked in every contest, even when we were down by 20 points. He was one of the reasons that kept St Kilda in it. His goals. How was that first goal that got the crowd going? From nowhere, he just gets it and just dribbles it through. He's like, it's on me. I'm going to dribble this through. Let's see how we go. And it was a goal. It was a goal. Then he kicked another good one in the third quarter that just bounced through. I thought Tom Barras will stop it, but it was too fast for Tom Barras. And then his last quarter goal was good. He just snapped it from the pack, which I thought was really good. So there were some really positives. There's no doubt about that. Like I said, it was a scrappy game. But just because the game is scrappy, that doesn't mean you can't take positives. There were a lot of positives. St Kilda's usage of the ball was really good as well. Just the entries into the 50, if they can lower their eyes and polish that up, these games will become wins. I'm telling you, it won't be a close loss. It'll be a win. Okay? Remember one thing. St Kilda had the same scoring shots as Hawthorn, as reflected in the final score. Hawthorn, 14 goals, 10.94. St Kilda, 10 goals, 14.74. 14 plus 10 is 24 scoring shots in Hawthorn. St Kilda, 10-14 also adds up to 24. It's just that Hawthorn's ended up kicking more accurately. They also missed, but when it mattered, they kicked. Jack Gunston kicked his 3. Dylan Moore kicked some. Marvia Cho kicked. They also missed some gettable shots too that you could talk about a lot. But when it mattered, they kicked and St Kilda didn't. So St Kilda kicked themselves a bit out of the game, but they didn't make it impossible on themselves. Okay? People say it was a boring game, Ross Lyon football. Look, you can have your opinions all you like. If there's something you want to talk more about, talk about the intent. Of course, with Ross Lyon football, it's going to be a slog. It was always like, even when he coached St Kilda the first time, it was a slog. Even ask Sam Mitchell, he says playing St Kilda is not a very easy side, regardless of their ladder position. You're going to have to earn your victories. If you see Hawthorn, they didn't have it on their terms all the way around, but when they did, they capitalised. They had to work hard to transition the ball a bit better. And they did it better, but they made hard work of it. It wasn't a smooth Hawthorn transition. Remember, this could have been a team that could have come into our game roll with the mindset of, oh, it's only St Kilda, we can roll them over. But it wasn't. St Kilda did not allow that. They didn't play the way that North Melbourne did last week. Sorry, North fans, but 85 points, you got belted last week. St Kilda was nowhere near to that standard. They made Hawthorn earn it. Okay? And this is what I like to see. The youngsters are cracking in, they're learning, they'll develop. It only gets better with time. It's not going to get worse with time. Okay? Experience is the main thing. You've got to play more games. If you look at teams like Collingwood, except 1 or 2 players, every player there has played at least more than 150 games. Okay? So it's no surprise the way they're going about it. They've tasted success, pretty much all of them. They've been there, done that. So it's okay. You can understand it, Good on them for maintaining that. But, give these players more time. They just need to play more. And we're going to get some big names in the off-season. They're going to get busy in the off-season. I think Kane Corns made a very wise statement in one of the documentaries. He expects St Kilda to be one of the busiest clubs in this trade period. So, yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, St Kilda have a big salaries cap. They're going to be using it. They're going to fire a shot. It doesn't matter. Let people laugh. Let people say what they want. You've got to fire a shot somewhere. I mentioned these in my videos before. You've got to fire a shot. There's no doubt about that. So, that's pretty much it. So, a game again yesterday. We were to summarise it. We were let down by execution to the forward 50. Forward entries really costed us, but effort, not lying down, not getting belted, I can't fault that because they really cracked in. Again, it's that polish. Okay, if you look at St Kilda supporters, how they're feeling now to what they did before the Bulldogs game, I'm sure you'll see it. I'm sure they'll say they'll feel a shadow of what they felt weeks ago because there's a lot more upside. I think the trick was they realised to play more youngsters. I like that. Stop going with older players. Go with the youth. Doesn't matter. Nothing to lose. Your youth will tell you where you're going. Okay, your youth will tell you that they're the future. They're the ones who are going to drive us to the next flag. Let's face it. They're going to drive us to the next flag. It's as simple as that. And at the end of the day, if they can do that, it's theirs to take. That's it. I'm excited. Every time I go to the game with my wife, I always think, I look forward to seeing a Tyru, what he does. I look forward to seeing the Halls, the Garcias, the Hugh Boxshells, the Angus Hasties, the Darcy Wilsons, the Naz, the Windy Hagars. Of course, I'm not trying to undervalue the senior players. They still need to be there for guidance. But this youth, it's this youth that's going to drive the club forward. So I'm excited with the prospects of what they can do and how well they'll drive the club forward. And I have 100% optimism they will. Each of them care to play right. They're looking to get better. And if you think otherwise, well, that's your opinion. I can't help that. But you probably want to see more St Kilda games to show that they actually do care. Their mistakes on the field might show that they don't. But then everyone's allowed to make mistakes, right? Even good players, experienced players still make mistakes. So what? You mean to say Hawthorn also didn't make mistakes yesterday? They didn't play their best footy, but they were a bit cleaner in their forward entries. If someone can tell me this was Hawthorn's best win all year, you probably need to define to me what does best win mean in your eyes, because I know Hawthorn have had better wins in other games than yesterday's win, that's for sure. They'll take the win, good on them, nothing to take away from them, but to say yesterday was their best win, I'd probably sort of revisit that statement anyway, but again, opinions are opinions at the end of the day, okay? So, yeah, I'll pretty much leave it up there. Leave it at this point. Thank you all for tuning in. Comment your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'll be putting out more content this week. My next content will probably be on a Thursday. I'll be probably previewing the Sydney game next Sunday. So till then, have a great rest of the Sunday with your family, friends and loved one. Stay safe, stay dry, etc. Looking forward to my next video. And yeah, feel free to also pass this on to any other AFL followers if there's anyone who might be interested. And I'm more than happy for them to subscribe to this channel. Okay, so take care, and as always, up the Saints. All right, bye bye everyone.